Here we go, serrated knives by popular demand. There's a few ways to do it, and I'm going to show you both of them. Now, there's more than a few, but I do two different ways. I've got my ceramic belt on, 120. This knife had some problems at the tip. The points were pretty mashed down, so I'm going to put on just a couple angles. You see how shallow I'm lifting the knife, just about the thickness of the back, maybe between 1 and 2 thicknesses of the back of this knife. Very light pressure. I am not pushing down at all. That's why I'm not having to go into the water. Just super light. I'm sneaking up on it. Okay, see how big that bevel is? That's because it's so flat, and there was the points were all mashed over. So I'm going to switch. I got my 400 grit. 400 grit is a nice follow-up to the 120 ceramic, in my opinion. Again, very light pressure, same angle. These Gator Trezac belts last forever. I'll have this belt for 4 months. Now, it looks pretty good. I could stop there. But what I'm going to do is go to the 600. On these satin knives, the 600 is a pretty good match. Just put a couple passes on it. Don't get too hung up on, trying to make it absolutely perfect. Now you're going to have a big burr on the front side of this knife, and we're going to take care of it because of the big scallops. We're going to take care of it on the felt wheel. I've used sandpaper to radius the outside corner of my wheel right from the get-go, so it's always got it's always ready for this activity. It's not radiused enough for this knife, so I kind of jiggle it back and forth in the scallop. Put some fresh compound on it. I come in, you see that little back and forth, back and forth? That's because it's actually radius for a smaller scallop. You just go down. When you think you got it, do the other side, nice and flat. Wipe off all the compound, and you're good to go. You run your fingers, well, you don't run your fingers. You kind of grip your fingers on it and see how grippy the points are, and that's how you test that out. Now here's another one. This is an Eversharp. I guess you could call it an Eversharp. It's like a Hinkle saw. It's their least expensive knife. And the saw teeth are hell to do, but I've kind of got a system that works pretty good. First off, it's in real good shape, so I don't need the 120. I'm going to go with the 220 belt, which I like a lot better. These yellow belts, I don't even know what they're made out of. I bought a batch of them, and I wasn't using them, but I'm kind of digging them again. They do a nice uniform pass. You don't feel the backing hit when you get to the seam. I like that. I'm looking at the points, and I want to make sure all the points are pointy and they're not mashed over and catching light. Just like looking at a knife blade in the sunlight, if you see any skinkles, that's where the blade's been mashed down, and all the points get mashed down. Very light pressure, barely lifting the back edge. You can see there's not much contact there. Not much was needed. There's a lot of guys that don't work that texture out a little bit, but I go back to my 360 MX micro mesh belt, the 2000 grit. This belt too is very good about having a seam that's kind of quiet. This knife has a mirror polish. This belt could put a mirror polish back on if I go enough. I don't usually bother, I just get it closer, and this is just fine. So now on the other side are a bunch of burrs buried inside all those teeth. How do you get those burrs out? I don't like to use a polishing wheel that's a loose cloth because it rounds the edge over. So here's how I do it. This is a brass brush from Harbor Freight. They have the nicest brass brushes, size and small wire. Now I'm actually combing it backwards. I'm trying to get that burr completely out the back. You can feel it. Then I go to the slack part of the belt. Sorry, my camera's not focusing. That's another story. Super light pressure, and right now I'm trying to find the exact angle. I'm looking for the burr to disappear. And I gotta sneak up on that angle. Once I get it, I comb it down one more time because it brings a little burr back, a 2000 grit kind of burr, and one light pass. And if there's no burr, it's done. And you can feel how grippy those needle-like serrations are. They feel just like a bunch of stacked up needles gripping into your fingers. That's when they're done. You go to a polishing wheel on it and you lose some of that pointiness. Okay, this knife, see how thin it is? There's not enough serration there to go on a belt sander. So you've got to go on these CBN wheels that I've got. Get them from Lapidary Supplies. There's one called the Jade, I don't know, I can't remember the name of it. I'll try to put it in the link. And you go down and you do each one. The speed is on slow so you don't build heat, and I'm going light pressure. I'm going to plan on doing 2 complete passes. And the reason for that is you can't see what you're doing. What you're doing is on the underneath side. And if you screw up, you look at it and you realize you got a problem, you can fix it because you got another pass coming up. Sometimes you got to do more. You really get some bad ones. You got to do like 5 passes on this thing. You just can't lean on it enough. It builds too much heat. And there's a lube you put on these wheels to help that. I'll try to list that too. So there you go. Do you see there's a big burr on the back? I'm going to get off on the polishing wheel. This is the look you're looking for on the polishing wheel, with and without. Okay, now this guy here, it's pretty mashed over in the front. You can see all the shine up there. And the serration is too small for any of my tools, so I have to do it on a belt. I'm going to my 220 grit, and I'm going to pay a little more attention to that front edge. So give it a little more pressure as I go. And I'm looking for any signs of the points being flat. If they are, you got to go some more. You don't want to go with too much angle on this. You angle it up and you'll be changing the geometry of it. I mean, some serrated knives have a real steep angle in the back, almost a 45 degree, but that's not a compliment. That's just cheapness. Okay, here comes my 2000 grit. It's back. And this knife is going to be treated the same way. I could almost take this one to the polishing wheel if I wanted to. The felt wheels have enough give that I could do this one on it, but since I'm up and running for the brass brush and the cutoff by running it backwards, which is what you're doing, that belt is just cutting off the serration. Again, once you get it cut off, go for one more wipe and one more cut. It makes it noticeably better. There you go. That's how you do it.